Just thrilled that we have so many young people here with us this evening, and parents and that kind of thing. And we're going to get into that in just a few minutes here. But this isn't something that typically can happen in many different parts of the world. And so, as our council member Lyle Vance mentioned in his prayer, how grateful we are to be able to have this freedom to do this kind of a thing. It is a powerful thing. It's a very powerful thing to be able to have democracy and to be able to have the opportunity for us to work for you and to serve you. So with that, I'm going to kind of introduce some of the people here. We got Sean Warnke who's our city manager, Wesley Stepp, one of our council members, Connie Archibald, Lyle Vance, Brett Rohde, Rick Siemens, our council members, Lindsay Nesson, our recorder, Paul Foljam, our public works director, Dustin Cordova, our police chief, Mark Christensen, our assistant city manager, Robert Lacroix, Robert Lacroix is our fire chief. We're grateful for all those. I hope I got everybody. Anyway, thank you, everybody.
Mayor,
Yeah,
look right back there by the door. We have a few out-of-town visitors.
Oh, yeah. Oh, heavens, yes. Where's our Brigham City mayor?
They're way out there, but
Way out there. Okay. We've got a Brigham City mayor and Brigham City fire chief, right? Okay. All right. We appreciate them coming up. I guess I get to go to their council meeting on Thursday. It'll be much less enjoyable when I go to their council meeting, but it'll be one I'll remember, I'm sure. Okay. With that, let's, council, are there any conflicts of interest with the agenda here tonight? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as listed here tonight.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Connie and seconded by Wes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I don't think I heard any. Approval of the minutes for September 20th, 2022.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of September 20th, 22.
I'll second.
Been moved by Brett that we accept the minutes for the 20th of September 22, and seconded by Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have some years of service, so we want to recognize Ashley Wilcox and Debbie Carter. Are they here with us tonight? Come on up, would you, please? We want to recognize you for your services.
He has a spiel for him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Did you want to say something?
They wanted me to
No.
read their,
They wanted you
No,
to.
we didn't want her to, you did.
yes, the city
All
did.
right.
Do you want me to do that? I'll go sit down if you want me to.
Can we go sit down?
Yeah. No, you gotta stay, no.
Lindsay.
Okay. Okay, Debbie Carter. Debbie has lived in Tremonton since 2012. She started working at the library just 6 months after she arrived, and she has a son and a granddaughter. She enjoys being around people and music of all kinds. She loves plants and making things grow. She said she enjoys the outdoors and going for long rides. Ashley says she has 4 children, and she's lived in Tremonton for 17 years. She loves to go to concerts and going to Island Park in the summer and staying at her dad's cabin. So, a little bit about them.
Great. Thank
Both
you.
of them, we're recognizing both of them for 10 years of service to the city. So we appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to turn the time over for a moment to Connie, we're going to recognize some citizenship awards for elementary students. And so I'm going to turn time to Connie, and she's going to explain kind of what this is all about, and then we'll go ahead and give out these awards.
As a council, we have been discussing for some time the importance of good citizenship. And we have noted that a lot of that has to do with what you're doing in your homes. And so we thank you as parents for doing what you can to instill within your student, your child, what it means to be a good citizen. In Tremont City, we need lots of good citizens in order for this town to grow and to flourish. And we are growing. And we just want to grow in a positive direction where we have lots of people who know how to be good citizens. So tonight, we're going to start a tradition in Tremont City, and that is that every month, the first Tuesday of every month, each school, each elementary school in Tremont and our intermediate school will recognize a student from each grade. And so tonight, we're starting this tradition. So we're going to start with McKinley, North Park, and the Alice C. Harris, and they have identified the student in their school that has the attributes or has demonstrated this in the month of September in our school. So this is quite an honor. So thank you to those students that are here. So we're going to go ahead, and the mayor is going to announce those names. And again, congratulations. It's a real honor to be a citizenship. And the principal, let's see, I've seen Principal Dunham here tonight. Let's see, and is Mark Taylor here tonight? I haven't seen Mark Taylor. Oh, good. So Ashley Vance, Ashley Anderson. I'll just say your whole name, because I know you since you were tiny. If Ashley Anderson would join us one time, and then, of course, is Mr. Principal Lee here tonight. Okay, wonderful. Mayor.
All right, we're just going to call these out, and then we'll have you come up and get your award, and then we've got a certificate to Little Caesars, a $10 certificate to Little Caesars, so. White Bone. Will Robinson, Will Robinson.
Where's Will? Okay.
Here you go.
Principal, go over there.
Walt.
Maybe we
Waldman?
should.
Is that, did I pronounce that correctly?
Hey, Mayor, can we have them kids stay up here until we're done with that school?
Yeah, let's do a picture.
Yeah, if you kids will just come up here after you get your certificate,
Here, stand in the back.
and then we'll get a picture of you and
Okay.
Okay, Josh Lewis.
That's perfect.
Come right around here.
Thank you.
Kaylee Rose. Rockwell Miller. Arabella Olivia. Okay. Jesse Stark. Maya Gardner.
That's awesome.
Let's see, Haddix Gardner. Lisa Nelson. Troy Gonzalez. Jacelyn Hawes. There you are.
Sarah. Can you text her, tell her to take one?
Tanner Dixon. Ruthie Ritter. There you go. Glenn Gilmore. Madeline Nelson. Mateo Lopez. And Gema, is it Susan?
Gemma Sousey.
Jenna,
Gemma Sousey.
Gemma Salsi. You're gonna have to hear me slaughter her name. All right, hey, let's give everybody a round of
We get everybody. Let's have them,
Kind of get a little closer.
Let's-
Sarah's gonna take a,
applause, everybody. Let's get your picture taken, okay?
he's what? I worked in the fire department for a while.
No, Glenn, you're okay. Stand up.
There you go.
Kelly, smile. Glenn, look at me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 0-0 right now.
this is awesome.
Okay, now a re-smile.
Good job, kids. Yeah. Hey, you two can sit down now. Frenchie, Dustin, you guys can have a seat now. I pardon you, I forgive you a seat to sit.
See you later. That was good. She looks like she belongs.
She's got the mark, hasn't she?
She's got the mark. Oh, no. No, she takes after her father, so.
Was that enough of an explanation?
What?
That's hurtful right now. Your boss.
Friday. Thank you, everybody.
But you see the manager, take them out.
All right, let's, we have a recognition of our Tremont City Fire and EMS departments. Brandon
She's
Thewison,
still out there though.
they're still out there.
Oh, they're heading
They're
in
coming.
now.
Oh, there we go. Okay, we'll start over here. We're going to have a recognition of the Tremont City Fire and EMS departments given by Brandon Thewison, Brigham City Fire Chief. So, Robert Lacroix, are you accepting this?
Mayor's gonna lead us off.
So I'm going to lead off if that's okay, Mayor.
Are you going to sing?
You guys sing the.
I am not going to sing. I did not lose the bet. But when I do, I'd be happy to come out and sing. I am not against it.
He's got a voice.
Hey, thank you so much for letting us come out and do this. I am a little disappointed. When I first got here, I thought for sure everybody was here for us. But if it's okay, we may steal this. That was fantastic. That was amazing, you guys. We're here to show some love for Tremont and Tremont City Fire Department. We appreciate the relationship and the brotherhood that our two departments have. And with that, I'd like to say also that I appreciate the friendship that we have as mayor and city council, our two councils, and how our cities work together. So thank you for letting us come out and take some time. I'm going to turn the time over to Chief Thewison from our fire department to make the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and City Council, thank you for having us here tonight. So I just wanted to add a couple comments to what Mayor Bott has already expressed. As I thought about this on the way up here with the drive from Brigham City to Tremont, I thought, our two departments are real similar to family. We don't let distance separate us, right? So we work closely together, and Chief Lacroix and I talk regularly on the phone. And beyond that, we just greatly appreciate the support that your fire department's shown our community. There's been numerous times when I've had to pick up the phone and call Chief Lacroix and say, I'm in desperate need of an ambulance, or I need help with this, or different things. And he's always been more than willing to try and accommodate when possible. Likewise, we try and do the same. So I think that relationship back and forth is a great, valuable thing. And ultimately, it helps both of our communities be able to provide the service that we need to in a demanding world that we're in, trying to keep up with growth and call volume and all those kind of things that are happening. So with that, I just want to again say thank you. You need to know you've got such a great chief. I very much appreciate his professionalism and his background and our working relationship with each other. But down at even our firefighter level, how well they work and get along with each other when we're on incidents together is amazing to see. So with that, we just wanted to present to you, I kept it in the wrapper so I didn't scratch it. Thanks, Mayor. A plaque that just expresses our appreciation to Tremont Fire Department.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I just want to ditto everything Brandon said. Chief Thuson's been a great help for me. I call him regularly to get advice on different things and helping each other with calls. So anyways, he's been a great partner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks again.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We see you later.
Yeah.
Let us know how he sings next time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
More than likely, it's going to be videoed in some shape or form. So.
This is so concerning to me. I don't even know how I could continue after that. We want to thank all of our department heads and what great people we have working for us in this city. It's an incredible thing to watch and to experience and to be a part of. Sean, I guess you're going to talk to us a little bit about our future road projects and where we're at on funding sources and so forth?
Yes.
Okay.
So as you know, part of the budgeting process, we do look at roads. Well, it's been several years now. We actually set up a fund called the Transportation Capacity Fund, and the idea is to try to put money in that fund from the general fund to pay for future road projects. So we're going to take a look at what we have available or what we anticipate having available and talk about the projects. And these numbers, I think, are more illustrative than perfected numbers. And so keep that in mind. But what I hope will happen, and I think based on your direction at the last city council meeting, you wanted to try to identify a couple projects, and based upon that, we can start to evaluate what we think those costs are. As you know, we've been in a very inflationary environment, and especially as it relates to construction, materials and costs have increased. I talked to our city engineer today, and we do have some engineering estimates, but they are as of February 2021. And he said at this point, you could expect at least a 30% increase on some of those numbers. But if you're able to identify some projects that you would like to really consider with the next budget cycle, we can have him reevaluate those specific projects and really try to tune up the numbers. At the same time, we'll really try to tune the funds available for those projects. But, and Paul's going to help out here as well. He's very knowledgeable, as you know, about roads and construction and these projects. But I'll take the first portion on the financing, and he can walk you through some of the projects themselves, and I'll jump in at that point as well. But as you know, for the last, since 2019, the city has set money aside each fiscal year for road projects. We moved that money that we would have typically spent into Fund 40 and earmarked it for chip seal projects. And the reason we did that is, as you know, we've been actively deploying secondary water, and that requires the roads to be cut, which whenever you cut a road, you really lose the integrity of the road and it starts to degrade. And so one mitigating factor is mitigating measures to put a chip seal on it. And that consists of essentially an oil base. Well, let Paul talk about what a chip seal is.
Well, it's simple as Sean said. It's an oil base to adhere and to penetrate the surface of the oil and the asphalt. And we put a granular chip on. We use a 3/8 inch chip, which is a little bit smaller than if you were to look at a state road project. And then we actually put a fog coat on top, which adheres it down to keep you from having as many issues with windshield fractures and things like that. But that's just it, and it just gives a new wear surface and seal that cut that's been done and helps it blend together. Like Sean said, once you cut a road, it's never the same. I mean, you cannot patch it back to where you can tell it's never been cut, especially if it's cut across the roadway. If you notice, when we do our secondary, our goal is to get as close to the curb as we can, because that's where the tires aren't traveling, so people don't notice the cut. But that's why we've been postponing, so we get a bigger project and get a bigger bang for our buck, because generally how projects work, the more you bid out, the lower the unit cost is. And so we can get more done for less dollars. And so as soon as our other project wraps up this year, then we'll be on slate if set council decides to do that, to put out a big chip seal project to bid.
Yeah.
Chip seal take care of the road then and the holes and everything?
It doesn't level it, no. No, to do that, you'd put a 2-inch leveling course over top of it, which that increases the cost considerably. And if it doesn't adhere, then you have issues similar to what you'll see going on down Iowa String down the north, that you get pieces that get moisture under and they pop off. And that's where a sealer helps to keep that moisture from penetrating that surface.
And chip seal doesn't include that ripping the road up and?
No, that's when we grind and resurface.
We do have, in addition to this, we've been, with each subdivision that's approved, we have the developer pay a fee in lieu for chip seal. And so we do have potentially other funds, but depending on what roads are going to get chip sealed, we'll check that account balance. Because right now it's on our balance sheet as a liability, but we'll move it into and appropriate the funds if we do have some of those streets that are going to be chip sealed from that fee in lieu that we've collected. So the other thing I wanted to mention is T Squared. Maybe you could talk, Paul, about T Squared, because I think they're slated to come this year as well.
Yeah, we budgeted it, and they will be doing a survey this winter, spring timeframe. And if you remember, they're out of Logan, they're part of Utah State. They use the young engineers and those going to school to come out and survey your streets and rate them based on the surface type, the condition of the street, and things they see around it. And then we get a report back. If you remember, every 3 to 4 years, we present that to the city council. And what they do is they'll give an overall estimate of what is your remaining surface life of X street. And we've set a standard, to not drop below 1% by this much. And so that's how we measure how we budget money. And that was a new rule that came out in 2002. The cities had to start accounting for all their general fund infrastructure. Prior to that, we didn't have to fund any depreciation on that. And so if you looked at that, that could drive property taxes or however means you fund that up. In the water fund and the enterprise funds, we always depreciate our equipment and our facilities. In the other funds, it was never done because the cities just couldn't afford it. But in 2002, the government accounting board, however that's said, came up with new rules. And so this was a means to meet that rule. I think according to our accountant, they're changing some of those rules there at this time, how that's going to be done. But that's why we have T-Square come out, and they'll be coming out this year. And this year, we also have them, they're going to evaluate sidewalks and street signs, too. It costs us a couple $1,000s more, but I felt it was well worth that additional get. Instead of our eyes looking at it, it'll be a whole new set of eyes.
And I think that's one of the takeaways on a practical level, because you have to make decisions, and sometimes your decisions have to factor in, other factors. But this will be an independent review of kind of where we're at and give you some technical recommendation to rely upon and to evaluate as part of your decision-making process. So if you would, Lindsay, go to the next slide. So our Transportation Capacity Fund, I mentioned that to you. This is purely for capacity-driven projects. Right as of, and let me tell you, this is my best estimate. I rely upon Curtis to help us project what he feels comfortable actually appropriating, because in some cases, we want to keep funds available for cash flow and for other reasons. So I think that there's about 1.8 million available, and I'm estimating that there could be an additional 650,000 from fiscal year 2022. As you know, at the end of each fiscal year, you adopt a resolution that amends the budget for the last time, and there's a state statute that does not allow for more than essentially 25% of your general fund revenues to be retained in that fund. And so we allocate specifically where we're going to move those funds, and they're to capital projects. And so we've known that we've needed to put more money into transportation. And for that reason, I think it was 40% of the general fund balance that we moved to capital projects and to transportation capital projects, with the 20% going to some other funds. So that's my best estimate of what's available.
So let me get this straight then. We got 1.5 million in the 40 chip seal fund set aside. And addition to that, we got 2.447.
That's my
It's your best guess,
estimate,
depending
yep.
on what happens by next July.
Right.
So, okay, I'm with you.
And does the chip seal need to be used for chip seal, or can be used for road repair, construction, or?
You can use it for whatever you deem, but having said that, and we need to check, because as Paul alluded to, we've identified a level of service in order to meet that government accounting standard board pronouncement. It was GASB, I forget which.
34.
GASB 34. And so that might have changed, but we made an obligation to keep a certain level of service, and part of that is this evaluation. But I would generally say, yes. And there's other things that you could look at, potentially too, but realize what you cut in one area to move to another, those needs start to suffer. And so we do our best to try to, put money in play where it needs to be, and ultimately you make those decisions.
One more question, if I may. So T-Square, do we have any clue how long it takes them to do this study?
Well, we get on their schedule, and they were filled up for the fall when I got on in July. And so they said, well, it'll work out into the winter and into next spring. So it'll be wrapped up by June of next year.
Yeah.
For sure. Because that's
So that's really next fiscal year before we'd really make any decisions on that.
based on their current study. We can use their past study, and it'll give us somewhat of ideas, because the roads haven't deteriorated that much.
Okay.
When was the last time they did this?
2000 and, I want to say 19.
19.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't, just from a construction perspective, we did not appropriate any funds to do any road projects this fiscal year. Typically, what we do is if you want a road project done, then we really try to have the bid documents prepared in the winter time, bid it out in spring, and get on the schedule, which the construction season typically falls into the next fiscal year. So there are no construction projects in fiscal year 2023, which we're currently in. We talked about doing the chip seal for next fiscal year because the secondary water project would be done. So in some of these projects that we're going to be talking about, engineering has started but hasn't been completed, and there's a little bit of lead time with that as well. Because some of the projects require more engineering because of some of the grades and the existing residents' property and how some of these improvements will affect it. And in some cases, we actually need to procure fill slope easements, before we can actually start construction. So all that takes time. So I think I just want to let you know some of the timeline. And Paul, as he goes through these projects, can tell you which ones those, really affect to the more complicated projects.
And as Sean mentioned, we like to get them to bid in January. That way we usually get a better price because the contractors are looking to start scheduling their work for the next summer. And then that way they can lock down as best they can, which anymore it's hard to lock anything down, prices for asphalt. And if they can get a longer projection, then they can get better prices generally. And so usually we like to put a bid out on road projects in January. And with roads, we can start building them as soon as it dries out. So, anywhere May through November. With chip seals, that's a specific to generally July, August, early September when the roads are hot. Because you want that oil and those chips to penetrate the hot asphalt. And so that's usually, we'll try to get those projects out to bid in January when we do a project.
We wanted to do a project, say May or whatnot. We didn't budget for any this year, but we do have the funds. We could start something with.
Yeah. I mean, you guys can always open a budget and
Yeah.
if we have something designed and out, so we can get it out to bid. You just don't want to do something last minute that's gonna run the cost up, that's the hard part. And in this world we live in right now, costs are crazy.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about the chip seal, we also have, the patching, all the secondary, will that be completed this fall?
Yeah,
Everything will be completed
It should
this
be.
fall on that
Yep.
part of it.
Yep.
And if the council opts to look at a little different option is on a road and perhaps simplify it or just do grind it and repave and that kind of thing, instead of the
full rebuild.
the full rebuild, that's an option that's available to the council.
Yeah.
To make that decision.
Correct.
Okay.
Before we leave, just, for timing, if we're trying to get bids in January, wouldn't it be prudent to try to get T-Square, just make a request that they have it done by this December, so we can make more prudent decisions?
I can see what they can do, but they're like everyone else. They utilize college students, and they only have so many. And it's you usually go on the schedule, first come, first serve.
Let's make a
So
request.
I can talk to Rick tomorrow and say, hey, we'd like to see if we can move it up.
Okay. I think that'd be good if we could do that.
Okay.
Sean?
Yeah. So we're going to start talking about these projects, and keep in mind, these costs are old costs, and the recommended, as a general rule of thumb, Chris is estimating an additional 30,000 or 30%, which that's an additional 100, I can't read that. Paul, can you see that red box?
649, yeah, total project cost.
So add another 150,000 on top of that to get into the ballpark. So you want to talk about?
Yeah, so this is the 10th North, and I think this is why there's a couple people here. You know, and it's a big project. It would go from 2300 west all the way out to the UDOT roadshed. But it has some stages where there's some different issues to deal with. One is crossing the canal. One is curb and gutter rebuild. There's some curb and gutter, some. And all along here, there are slope issues, and that's Sean was talking about. We've identified the slope easements we need. Now it's basically acquiring those slope easements from people. And what it does is makes it possible for us to transition their driveways into our roads. Because if you know along that road, if you've ever driven it, there's homes that are right off the road. There's homes that are set back further off the roads. Those that are set back further off the roads are easier to accommodate. Those that are right on that road, when you adjust the grade of that road to make the drainage work and everything, it could really affect some of their driveway entrances. And so we have to get those slope easements so that we can accommodate their in and out. And so this first leg of it takes it from 2300 to 2660, which is the one that goes up, well, to our water tank, to the old Crump home, if you know where the old Crump home is, on the hill. And that one there, if you look at the projected estimate, you know, that's $650,000 to do that first.
That's curb and gutter.
That's having curb and gutter and sidewalk, and part of that's already in, there, the sidewalk along there.
Probably closer to 800,000 based on just adding that extra 30%.
Oh, because that doesn't include the 30%, okay.
These are,
I was thinking it did.
Yeah, it does.
Because he had overall,
Percent on that, John.
well, so let me.
so is this
clarify that.
the old engineer's estimate from,
A 30% more.
Right.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah, but what percentage did you put in before?
We had a 30% contingency on engineering, because you never know what you're gonna get underneath it, so we always did. Now, what his 30% is cost,
Yeah, so.
for material cost.
Yeah, the contingency, Chris hasn't, at this point in the process, he hasn't done engineering well enough to know all the exact costs. And so as a general rule, he'll put a contingency in there. And Paul just explained that we need an additional contingency because of inflation that's occurred within construction material.
Normal contingency is usually 10 to 15%, but because this is so preliminary, when we did this was this in 2021?
February of
Yeah,
21.
he did that, and we just put a 30% because that was just a rough shot estimate without digging down into what we gotta do. Then the additional 30%, which I thought that might included it, is for material costs and labor cost,
Inflation.
inflation since that. So $800,000 on your pencil there.
And, you know, one of the things the city will do on a project, I'm anticipating that with this many property owners, we'll hire an acquisition agent who will actually go out and contact the property owners, because as you probably know, the easement means that, that we get permission for either a fill that's related to the structure of the road to exist on their property, and they're compensated essentially for that structure or that impact on their property, or a cut and some kind of structure that would affect their property. So there's a lot of property owners that would need to be worked with and acquired, and hopefully they're going to be anxious to see these improvements come and.
According to this picture, there's only 3.
Well, on this little piece.
Right. In
Yeah,
the future,
but-
there will be more, absolutely.
Yeah, when we get to the next slide, as we go west down that road, it expands quite a bit. And some of this is already done. I mean, you know, there's only, those 3, 4, 5, 6 properties that come in. There's about 3 on the south, and then the 3 to 4 on the north side.
Does the north side need to, it's not going to affect theirs a lot, is it?
No, but they'll have the cut easements to make the transition, so they don't come straight down into it. I mean, if you go up and look at Doug Allred's old home, I mean, that driveway is steeper than heck coming down there. It was to make those so they don't end up like Doug's did when when his son built that subdivision.
So one thing I would tell you as an intermediate measure, because, these are longer-term projects, and obviously you'll prioritize it, but Chris, our engineer right now, is looking at the possibilities of also just repaving portions of 1,000 North. And he's also looking at the possibility, when I say repaving, let me clarify, what they'll do is they'll come in, they'll pulverize the existing asphalt surface, and then they'll lay down a new asphalt surface. So that's one option that he's looking at and what the costs are. He's also looking at the option of pulverizing that existing asphalt surface and then grading it based upon the final elevation of this new road, based upon widening it. And then what it would cost to pave it. And so those are some alternate measures in order to address some of these needs quicker, but he's still doing the engineering. So he has all the survey work for both the horizontal and the vertical, elevations that he needs and distances to make that. And right now, it's in his software, and he's working through the process of trying to engineer what that might look like and what in reality, if it is a real strong option or not.
So some of the goal is what we do up there, if we do a short term, that it's not something we have to undo and double spend money. The surface of this road up here, a normal asphalt surface in a city street is 3 inches. This here will be beefed up to 4+ inches, because even though we want to limit tractor trailer traffic on it, we know that doesn't happen. And so we want to build it to be sure we can handle truck traffic that's going to come down that road. Especially as we enhance it and give pedestrians more use of that road, probably you'll see a little more truck traffic, whether we want it or not.
Paul, when we put that sidewalk in, or when you guys put that sidewalk in at All Reds Pond, was that about where you?
That was set at a certain elevation.
That was
so,
thought out for this future expansion?
Yeah, to an extent, the best we could.
Close, yeah.
Do you have, does Chris have an estimate, any sort of engineer's estimate on this other option?
I think there is further down, that's just the straight.
The grind and regrade, yeah.
Regrade, and then the grind and regrade, and then widen just a little bit?
It was just a grind and regrade the existing width, which I think the width is 26 feet maybe, 24 feet, without the additional travel lanes.
Yeah. And you say down the road, you've got an idea on the cost of that?
We do.
So Paul, would that put a center lane in it?
Not, the whole rebuild would put a center lane in it, but with this here option, if we just do a grind and regrade and stuff, it wouldn't. But the whole would be curb gutter with a center lane, no on-street parking.
It would match what's below. Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So the functional class of this just is a minor arterial road, which really our minor arterial roads are 80 feet. That's our standard. This is an alternative minor arterial road because we just don't have the right-of-way width. It's a 66-foot right-of-way, and so it's an alternate cross-section that tries to add some of that same capacity within our minor arterial roads, and what we really lose is the on-street parking, but it still has that center lane. I thought this was important just to put in because, and I know you're probably all familiar with it, but this is where the current improvements that was done under a UDOT grant that led us up from 1,000 North to 2,300 West. And you can see beyond the 2,300 West intersection is where you see it narrow down to to a smaller right-of-way.
So one other question, Paul, are you gonna try to hold all that water in curb and gutter?
No, it'd be piped to that basin you see there that then has an outfall pipe that goes all the way down 2,000 West and ends up down behind those properties next to the freeway at 2,000 West. and then it has an outfall that we put in underneath Main Street that goes all the way to I-15, or it'd be I-84 is where it goes under and heads to the county, to Salt Creek. So no, it'd be piped, collecting in the gutters and running into gutter boxes, curb boxes. Okay, this section here would go from 2300 to Country View Estates Drive, if you know where that is, from, not 2660 up that way. And that's where we get into quite a few of the slope issues coming in and out of driveways, is in that section there. If you look at the cost estimate there, it was 1.6 times that by 30%. So, yeah, $2 million.
Almost 22.1.
22. And that would be, that's the full section, but like I said, these here, you have a few more of those slope easements to have to deal with. The cuts on the north side and the fields on the south side to make it work.
So since some of these homes have been built for some time and existed maybe in the county, I'm not sure I know the neighborhood well enough, but I would just tell you that, 3 or 4 years ago, the city put in an overlay ordinance that requires the setbacks of homes to be pushed further beyond. If you drive up that street, you can see how close some of those homes are, which really exacerbates the problem of trying to widen the road with encroaching into these driveways. So we've solved the issue going forward, but that's essentially, these were done before that ordinance was in place.
That wasn't even in Tremont city limits when all them first houses.
So, yeah, some of them weren't there. Some of them came after it was annexed in, and they had the service district up there provided water.
Right.
But as Diana knows, some of those ran out of water in 91, and that's when they approached the city about getting them water, and that's when they started coming in. Then does it show the next section? Because that talks about it right there. And that's the next section that would go out to our city limits, out to the state road shed, to the off and on ramps of 84 out there. And that there,
This is the whole repave and
Yeah.
pulverize and repave. So you asked the question, Mayor, about, what that looked like. That doesn't necessarily, this is not done engineered to potentially reuse some of that asphalt that we laid. As you get further west on 1000 North, it flattens out. And so, we anticipate that those, those elevations, would be easy to make work with repaving and pulverizing. But, where you have some of those cut fill slopes that we've talked about, kind of in that middle section of reconstructing 1000 North, that's where it gets a little trickier.
so that would be just to pave it, pulverize, repave it to the existing width, asphalt thickness, and everything from 2300 out. It would make the road smooth, drivable, but it wouldn't make the walkability of it any better because it's still the same 26-foot width road. And so there's no walking lane out there.
You gave us three projects. One to, what was the name of the street? The first one?
So there's one from 2300 to 2660.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then one from 2660 to 32. There should have been another one in there, and I don't know where.
I don't know either, but the total, if you go to the next slide, I think that total.
That has a total, a widening, 5.5.
That's the full.
That would be the full.
Plus 30.
Because that last section, I mean, I don't know why it didn't show up, but it's
I think it's right
probably
above it, is it? Well,
it's the easiest as far as the cost. There's it right there. It's the easiest to do because the road flattens and the hillside flattens there. So we may not even had a picture of it, but there's the cost of that one there. to do that last,
Plus 30%.
yeah, plus 30% of that
Million.
3.3. It's more, the cost, you know, reflective is because there's a lot more footage to do. But as far as the ease, it's easier to do.
7.3 million.
Yeah.
So we do have other projects that we need, that we wanted to talk to you in addition to the 1,000 North. So this is a project, and let me just kind of jump in. We've talked about it the last couple council meetings. You know, it's kind of an active construction site. It's on the south end of town. It's reconstructing a portion of Rocket Road to a minor arterial road. This is again a minor arterial road within our classification of our transportation plan. In this case, we are trying to widen sections out to the full 80 feet. As you go further west, there are, you know, there's some existing development that's, you know, that might make it difficult to have that full 80 feet. But then it opens up again as you move beyond, and it runs parallel with the interstate and property that UDOT owns. In fact, the mayor and I were at a COG meeting, which is the Council of Governments, and they make recommendations on the Corridor Preservation Fund. And, you know, we were able to, at this point, get a recommendation from the COG to fund the acquisition from Blake Christensen. So I have a meeting with Blake tomorrow, Paul, the engineer, and a developer as well. So we're actively working on trying to acquire the right-of-way needed for this project. The other thing I thought was helpful, and we actually really need to follow up with Elwood, but we met at Elwood's Town Hall, or City Hall, and we really need to coordinate with them, so it's an 80-foot width going east. Because as you know, you go down the, through the river basin there and bottoms, and then it's Elwood from there to State Road 13.
Well,
So,
Does that widen the bridge too over the canal
this here would,
at this cost?
at this cost, and that's what, you know, developer participating in some of the costs because they own some of the road that they have to upsize.
yeah,
And
so, and that's an important point, you know, I just want to let you guys know, and I think you're well-versed, but maybe the public who's attending. So as development occurs, we have a special opportunity to evaluate the development and see what the impacts are going to be on the city when there's an application that's been proposed for approval. And the city can require the developer to provide improvements consistent with their impact on the city. And in this case, what that means is we can require additional right-of-way potentially. And it's a case-by-case evaluation, and require them to pave and install curb and gutter. And we do exact to the fullest extent that we can. You know, realize when we're talking about minor arterial roads, you know, there's a portion that we cannot exact, which we've determined to be 14 feet. But in some cases, we can negotiate the developer to help, you know, do that, and we've those improvements. And in this case, you know, we have, when it was annexed into the city, you know, we negotiated that they would, you know, build the improvements that are needed, the curb gutter and sidewalk, and that extra asphalt width. So it is an active construction site. They, being the developers, can't improve their frontage until we're able to move the power line, which I would also just kind of mention when Rocky Mountain Power came in for their franchise agreement, you know, we negotiated the fact that they would move those power lines with no cost to the city. And, you know, we really tried to document and formalize that. And so. Paul, is there anything else
No,
we should talk
this
about?
would just like Sean said, this would be an 80-foot road right away, which would have a turn center lane and two travel lanes and could accommodate on-site on-street parking, but we wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Even some of these roads, we try not to, even though they have the width for it.
Yeah, that's well said. I think to the degree that we can, we try to limit on-street
Yeah.
parking just because that side friction affects people's travel.
But, yeah, that would replace that bridge right there and widen that. And that's the key portion that the developer couldn't provide for us, was that south side, which is the Blake Christensen property.
And again, this is, the reason Blake's an existing property owner, he doesn't have an application before the city. We cannot exact those improvements, which is why we're trying to acquire it by negotiating, the acquisition of, it's a 10-foot PUE, and I think it's a 10-foot asphalt strip, or, 10-foot additional right-of-way. So that top upright picture, again, to show you sort of the concern there, it really narrows down. And as we've talked about through the development process, we've widened it out the best we could, but there's a real sharp transition there. And I've heard, from Blake, that an elderly man, I think, drove up. There's a Jersey barrier that you can't see. You can see it on the south side or left-hand side, but an individual didn't quite make that, that transition and drove his vehicle up onto the Jersey barrier and got stuck. And so, as roads narrowed down, it's a real hazard.
What do we do if Elwood doesn't want to go to 80-foot road then?
Well, my hope is that we work with them to get a corridor application. I mentioned to Gina, who, and I'm not sure if the mayor was there from Elwood.
No, I don't think it was.
But we do need to be proactive and talk to them, about it. I think we project 6,000 annual daily traffic in 20 years on this road, which is half the traffic volume of I-15 right now. The 50-year build-out was much greater. In fact, it showed that it really didn't meet. It was at a level of service D, which does meet the level of service, but it was, I think, at, I better not say because I can't remember that one. But anyways, we hope that, we anticipate a lot of traffic, and we anticipate that this is going to be a bypass, as you're probably anticipating, to Main Street, which is why we think it has the potential to carry a lot of volume or a lot of traffic on this road. So 1650, let me just talk a little bit about this. This is a corridor preservation project that was frankly a pretty complicated acquisition because it involved multiple property owners exchanging land and the city acquiring land for a collector road for this quadrant of the city. This is, as you can see, probably next to Stotts.
Yeah, Stotts Equipment.
And essentially, our traffic plan identified that we needed a corridor that would run essentially parallel along the interstate and tie back into Iowa Stream. And we identified it as needing to be a collector road width 66 feet. At the intersections, as you know, it expands to, I think it's 71 feet to accommodate all, turning movements, having their own dedicated lane. But this was a project that the property owner had frontage on Main Street, and because he had frontage on Main Street, we talked about exactions and impact and being proportionate. We did not feel in the future that if a property owner came to develop this property that we could require him to build a road because we felt like he had already access onto Main Street. And so as part of those negotiations, we committed to build a road by 2025, and we acquired this property. I think they gave us a 5-year lead time because as UDOT approves this going forward, they're going to require the access to be off from 1650 West, not onto, on Main Street. So we anticipate that this cost is close to,
It's $750,000 in 2021 dollars, so,
990.
yeah, another 30%.
a portion of this too, just so you know, is impact fee eligible, and some of these projects are, because as we create capacity, we essentially can get reimbursed for some of these projects through impact fees. And we've talked about getting reimbursed rather than proactively going out and building them and collecting impact fees. So we're always going to be collecting impact fees after we've made those improvements because of the costs that are otherwise required and the obligations to hit certain timelines to construct those projects by adopting an impact fee. So we essentially, as you know, collect those impact fees through buy-in after the fact. Anything on that one, Paul?
No, I was,
You want to take this one, or you?
well, yeah, this one there is just the lower half of Iowa String. And it's basically just at this point, pulverize and repave and bring it up to a 4-inch because of the amount of traffic, road traffic we get on there, truck traffic, to bring it up. It's pretty easy. It was realigned back in 2000 when we rebuilt that road the last time. And so the alignment's there, and it's only a 66-foot right-of-way. So as we, in the future, curb gutter and sidewalk that, which is down the road a ways, it'll be another one of those roads where there'll be no on-street parking. It'll have a center lane. But to this point, it would just be a pulverize and repave to bring the surface up. You know, that's the problem with development is you end up cutting roads. And as we said, once you cut a road, it's never the same. And when you get a road that's got 40-mile-an-hour traffic, you're always going to get thumps. And there's people that say it shakes their homes. I mean, with our clay soil, I'm sure it does. But unless you slow the traffic down, there'll always be some vibrations in probably homes built along that road.
How far down does that go? Down Iowa String?
That's down Iowa String, from Main Street to our city limits.
Oh, okay, under the.
Under the overpass, yeah. So down past Carmine Campbell's place right there to about where the Matson starts.
And, you know, as I look at this road surface, you know, I see a lot of it intact. There's some soft spots, there's some areas that have been cut, and we see some degradation, I think, on at the intersection of 6 South.
Yeah.
And, you know, potentially what I would probably recommend, and Paul is in a much better, stronger position to make a recommendation, but I almost wonder if we could just take segments of it and sort of patch it and try to,
Yeah.
you know, make a.
There's one area that has, I mean, we've worked on that when we rebuilt it. It's been rebuilt twice down by Steve Cannon's place. And there's a soft spot that's been dug out. It's 2 feet deep. We've dug it up and it's still alligators. And so next time we pull that road apart, we really have to see what's going on down there. There must be a spring or something underneath there that keeps moisture constantly in there to where it just does not hold up.
Is that a 3-inch?
It's just a 3-inch.
Because there's diesel trucks going
There's
on that road.
constantly, between Procter and Gamble, Walmart distribution,
All them cement trucks come up.
cement trucks, you've got Rupp's Trucking, you've got the landfill. And then, believe it or not, school buses are quite heavy on roads. And there's quite a few school buses that run up and down that road too.
So if you'd go up, I think the slide above, I think there was, so we did a traffic, as part of our transportation plan in 2017, we did traffic counts. And I think it was, 13% of in 2017, 12%, almost 13% of the volume of traffic was truck traffic, which Horrocks said, you know, it really depends upon the road, but they would have anticipated that road to have 3 to 5% total truck traffic.
And I bet it's increased a little bit with Procter and Gamble. They've stepped up their production some. I bet it's increased more between them and Walmart than what it was in 17.
So the next project we're going to be talking about is the traffic control at the intersection of SR 13 and SR 102. And as you know, these are state roads. And so this isn't necessarily Tremont City's obligation, but at the same time, it's our residents who use this facility every day. And so typically what UDOT requests is for the cities to participate. And if we can participate, then it's possible to realize these improvements, that would occur sooner rather than otherwise. And that's just the issue. I mean, UDOT, like us, has a long list of projects that need to be addressed, and they have limited funds. And we'll talk about two alternatives, this traditional intersection and a roundabout, and the costs associated with them. So just to be clear, what's been done so far, as you recall, about this time last year, residents came out to a public hearing and expressed concerns about this intersection. And so we contacted UDOT. We made the commitment we would. We contacted UDOT and asked them to do to evaluate the intersection, which they did. And they realized that after that evaluation, that this intersection met warrants, which means that it met some of the criteria that they have for a light or some kind of traffic control device. As you go further south, I would just tell you that that the intersection at Maverick and Texaco also met warrants, is what they told me, UDOT. Obviously, we're not involved in that, but the intersection in Elwood met warrants more on safety, and ours met warrants more on delays, capacity. So they did a study after they figured and determined that it met the warrants for traffic light to evaluate different alternatives, which include this traditional aligned intersection and a roundabout, which you'll see on the next slide, I believe. Oh, no, so it's okay. Go back to the next one here. We'll just take them in order. I just show you this image. These are the takes that need to occur, or the acquisition, and it's hard to see at this scale. I wish I would have blown it up, but if you can see those yellow highlighted areas, that's the additional property that UDOT would need to acquire to build out this intersection. And it highlights the difference between a roundabout and a traditional intersection, because there's just less real estate that's needed in order to construct a roundabout versus a traditional intersection. So if you would go to the next slide, this is what a roundabout would look like at this location. It has the predominant traffic movement at this intersection is a left turn going on to Main Street. So they have a dedicated lane that would take people through that traffic movement and separate out the traffic from the throughs. These all have the right turn lane as well that you would have to navigate through the roundabout too. You also see sidewalks on the perimeters of these, and those sidewalks would cross at the narrowest point. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see what the impact is. You can see again those yellow corners, but you see that red. They're saying that UDOT has estimated conservatively that it would be a full acquisition of that parcel of property. That is a separate parcel. It's where the gas station used to sit. And, part of it, I think, if I remember right, is you really don't have access, through that roundabout. And so that parcel, while it also, takes a third of the real estate, there's not a good way to access that parcel based upon, the roundabout and the frontage that parcel has, if you can
Does
envision
the
that.
roundabout move the traffic quicker or slower than a light?
Good question. We'll go on to the next slide. So part of this UDOT study, and this is actually maybe one more slide into the future, but, or no, it is this one. So they looked at 4 different criteria and the cost associated with it. It's really interesting. But they look at society delays. So these would be, the cost. They assign a cost associated with delays that occurs for the public. And so that first top bar where you see a stop sign, that's the existing improvements that we have. And because it meets warrants for a more efficient traffic control device, it's showing that, the existing cost to the public for delays is, $6.6 million. The next level is.
This has nothing to do with construction, just so you understand. It's deciding what they lose in their time or their life or however you look at it.
Yep. This is a little bit more abstract than some of the other ones, so we'll get more to, but it's interesting. They consider all different types of impacts when making this decision. But you'll see really the bottom line is going to come down to the capital cost. What does it cost to construct some of these improvements? So, the traffic light is essentially $3 million, the roundabout is 1.8. And I think they factor and count delays as physically stopped. And with the roundabout, everyone's continually moving, and I think it's just more efficient to move, traffic through that intersection.
I don't think they calculated my wife's been stuck on that roundabout not knowing how to get off, so. Don't tell her I said that.
Yeah. So to the next slide, which is safety. And so you can see again, the different stop sign versus traffic. And that's just because the speeds are higher, at a traffic light. And, the crashes and accidents are more violent, higher speeds. They assign essentially $6.7 million to the cost associated with safety, where the roundabout is $170,000. The crashes there, don't cause as much bodily harm as compared to the traffic light. So the operation and maintenance, again, the roundabout is, as far as, we know that the stop signs don't function as a viable traffic control device. We know that there needs to be an alternative. So of the alternatives of a traffic light and a roundabout, the roundabout again outperforms on operations and maintenance. But here's the limiting factor is the initial cost to construct. I mentioned to you there's no funds appropriated or earmarked for this project. The traffic signal comes in at $3.4 million, the roundabout at $5.2 million. And then this just shows the accumulated costs, and you can see the top line, the blue is the traffic light, the roundabout. And so when you factor that in, if we were able to get over the existing initial cost to construct, it's really a cheaper option and better option as all those slides suggested through our conversation. So that's really all we have. Unless there's questions. So at this point in the process, UDOT is looking for funding for that traffic signal. We are also looking for funding There's potential, I've mentioned this to you in the past, of trying to get a congestion mitigation air quality grant, but that's 500,000. Really doesn't move the needle. So anyways, that's kind of where we're at with those.
Thank you, Sean.
I do have one more. So the chip seal, do we have an estimate on how much that would cost to coat? I mean,
To do with the whole chip seal of everything?
Yeah.
Up there, I don't know that that's give the estimate, gives what we've been setting aside.
Yeah, that-
So no, at this point, no. We can get you one based on
does that cover it or is that way short too?
Well,
that's probably gonna cover a lot of it.
we looked, I think Paul did a sort of
Yeah.
a quick analysis, and we felt like we could potentially get close, not knowing exactly what the actual bids are gonna come in.
Inflation's done to us on that.
Okay.
But at the same time, we'll be doing a lot of the new subdivision streets too. That we've banked that money for.
We have 2.5 million set aside and we have 11 million worth of projects we're looking at.
I think we need to look at some priorities and, clearly there's going to be some things that have to be done and some priorities that we need to make, so that's our next step. All right. You have anything else, Sean? I don't. Okay. All right. Our next, council, do you have any questions or any comments at this point?
Well put together. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next part of the council meeting tonight is public comments. This is your opportunity to address the city council regarding your concerns or ideas. And take a number, it looks like. Okay. Okay, all right.
The most.
All of you are together?
Yes.
Okay, oh, okay, all right. Okay, all right. So just address your name and,
I'm Karen Stokes,
yep,
and the most outstanding place in Tremont is the museum. And I want to tell you just a couple of things, that we're not just a museum, but we're an event center, and we also have a theater on the second floor. So we have lots of variety there at the museum. So some of the things that we've done this year, we hosted the North Box Elder County Daughters of the Utah Pioneers. We had 80 people there. We served them lunch, and, of course, we had it catered. We served them lunch, and it was a great day. So that was a success for us. Then what we have done with we sent out letters to all the grade school kids, and the fourth grade students study Utah history. So we invited them to come to the museum, and when they got to the museum, we divided them into 4 groups. And one group was with the school. We've got a darling little school there, and the teacher was in there telling them about pioneer life during that time. The next thing we did was some appliances. We had the washing machine and the old stove and stuff like that. That was the next group. Then we had, we were making homemade ice cream, so we had a crank, one of those cranky ice cream freezers, and the kids loved it. I mean, we'd have to say, you've only done it 10 times now, you've got to let somebody else do it. And so they loved it. And then we have the hand cart that's there. And so we pushed the hand cart out of the back of the museum, and we had some kids pulling it and some kids riding in it, and they went down by the florist shop to the First Ward Church, turned around, and came back. And so we did and some of the kids some of the schools accepted that, and some didn't. But it was a great time, and the kids loved it. And then we gave them ice cream from the ice cream freezer, so that made it good too. And but we have one problem in that museum. We have that awful tree that's right there in front. Now that tree, see, we have museum up along the top. You can just see MU because the big tree is up there. And the tree, I've got, out of the mouth of two witnesses, so I brought one. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about the tree.
Okay, you have so many decisions to make, and this one we hope is not too hard for you. We've been talking about streets, and we know that tree-lined streets beautify a city. There's no question about that. But the tree that's just on the east side that blocks our sign is also a very, very dirty, well, they're all very, very dirty trees.
This one's especially dirty.
We have to clean up behind that tree all the year round. It's just one thing right after another that we have to clean up. Now, we feel that this museum is really a great feature in your city. In the years that I've been there, I have yet to have one out-of-area visitor that did not just rave about what a fine institution that museum is. Everyone that's from out of area comments on how fine that is. A second comment is that so many of our own people here say, well, where is the museum? When they see it, or when we're talking about it, they say, where is it? And that always shocks us to death, that they don't know where it is. And so we feel that it is a fine, fine institution, and removing that tree the people would be able to see the signage, and we'd get more patrons that way. And also, we could improve it even more if we did not have to spend so much of our time cleaning up outside and all the mess that's tracked inside. And so we request that that tree be removed, and you will still have other trees on that city block to beautify your city. So please,
Vote for us.
yeah, give some serious consideration.
I've talked to Brother Fulgham, and he said he would be tickled to death to take the tree down just as soon as you guys said he can.
All right.
I'll be the one cutting it, and if he tells me to come tomorrow, I'll come tomorrow.
Very good. You just
All
need
right.
1, 2, 3, 4 more
It
votes.
takes everybody out. I'm not a tree guy, but
Well, and another problem that we have is the birds build nests up in there, and then we have the playhouse up there, and that's cute little sign that says playhouse. The bird poop comes down on that. We not only have to clean that wall, we have to clean the sidewalk.
All
Because we
right.
can't let people come in. And so we're
right.
asking for.
Thank you. We'll take this
You've been taking.
into serious consideration.
A long time.
All right. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
thank you.
I have show and tell. My name is Mike Ransom. I live on Tremont Street, about 5th North. And I have a problem. This is my water filters. Now, I'll grant you, I left those in too long. Those were in 2 months. These two I took out this morning, so they're still wet. Well, these two 10-micron filters and one charcoal filter. And this is 3 weeks worth of water coming from the culinary water pipe.
Culinary?
Well, that's your culinary water. The first
Okay.
one.
All right.
You put the secondary water pipe in, and I have a well that's got a 12-foot head, so I just use my well to water my grass.
Okay.
But culinary water, this is what I'm getting from the city. I have no idea what part of your city, the pipes are doing something. And whether it's the pipe on Tremont Street or further back, I have no clue. That your engineers can figure that part out. But this is what I get, and this is what brand-new filters look like. And this is 3 weeks, that's 2 months.
So how often would a normal person change out?
I lived in Southern California for 40 years, and I had one filter that I would change twice a year.
Okay.
And I'm burning through 2 cases of these and 1 case of these about once every 2 years. There's 48 filters in a case. And they're not cheap. But anyways, all my sniveling and whining is done. I'm really sorry to have to do that to you. But,
That's why we're here.
yeah, right. It's not why you're here. You're here to.
Sure it is. Your concern is our concern.
Sir, what was your address again?
477 North Tremont. I think your engineers replaced the water pipe across the street because the culinary water is on the east side of the street, and you put the secondary water on the west side. And I appreciate that you guys paved over the street because it makes it nicer. But I crawled under my house and looked at my pipe from the meter to my house, and it was old, so I had that replaced. So I've got PEX from the meter to my house, and then throughout the house, I've got PEX. So I don't think I'm putting this water in the system. My system comes directly to these filters, and after these filters, I've got a UV filter and then a water softener in my system. So I'm doing the best I can to filter the water, but I would appreciate some help in getting water that was better than that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Paul, can you kind of,
Well, the only thing is if he has a galvanized service feeding his line, it would be where that's coming from.
all right.
Because we don't have colored water in town, you probably noticed that.
Oh, yeah.
When you turn if there's a piece of galvanized pipe in there is where that color would come from the rust that it builds up.
Yeah.
Because those homes in that area are probably built 70, 80 years ago. So unless it's been replaced since the main's gone in, and I'll have to just check on that.
Can you follow up a little bit on that? Okay, thank you.
So my wife dragged me down here and I spent an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and testify to y'all. Just on your prioritization, I would really encourage you to do 1,000 North. You know, we counted, and I live at the corner of 2660 and 1,000. And I bought that house in 2011. Since I've moved in, there's 52 new houses above us. So that's a lot of traffic. And that doesn't include the next subdivision up behind Diana that they put all those new homes in. So the traffic's incredible. You know, I ride that road on my bike on a daily basis, and it's deteriorating right before your eyes. I mean, and as we go through another freeze-thaw cycle this winter, it's just going to continue to come apart because there's cracks all over in it. And so that's going to let water get in it. It's going to freeze-thaw and bust it up. So regardless of what you do, I mean, I can see you're constrained by money. I mean, $2.5 million in hand, $10 million project. I understand the math doesn't work. But would love to have you prioritize it, even if it is just the repave. I mean, you know, $500,000 right now, where you go in and grade it, that'd make a huge difference. That's in your budget, so
That was
take
sort
whatever
of
we
my
can get.
question to you, you know, is a repave, you know, clearly there's,
That covers part of it. My other issue is that's a huge recreational corridor because it's the only hill in Tremont where people can get a aerobic
Get a run
effect to run up or to ride a bike. And so there's a ton of recreation traffic there. And it's on a 24-foot roadway. And so sooner or later, we're going to have an incident. And somebody at 40 miles an hour, you're not going to survive that incident. That's just the facts. And so to have a sidewalk there that's permanent, you know, there's a lot of little kids there. There's been kids killed on that particular road in the past that I know of in my lifetime. So I think that's a real deal and something we need to look at. And that is, you know, you finish that corridor and you give us a recreation corridor with that 8-foot sidewalk that goes up along there that even more people are going to use, especially where it has that grade in it, because people want a place to walk, they want a place to ride their bikes. And that's the only place that we have in town that lends itself to that, that's arterial size. I mean, we have other feeder roads that are coming into subdivisions and stuff, that we're going to have an 8-foot sidewalk and those types of things. That's the only place that I know of. But the traffic there is increasing. I mean, just the construction traffic in the trucks is making their truck signs null and void, and then the other guys just sneak through because their Google Maps tells them when they're going to Stokes Trucking to get their truck fixed, if they're coming off 84, that's the shortest way to go. You know, I also park at the state road sheds at the other end of that for my state work truck. It's interesting, you know, about 1 in 6 or 7 semis will pull in there and see that sign and actually back up and go back to the interstate. I mean, it catches a few, but not very many.
That should have been put into the Google when we GPSed or whatever to not go down that road. It's the locals. You'll see a lot of locals.
There's a lot of locals, but there's big rigs too. I mean, there's
that out of there though.
Oh, I know,
Ain't
but
no road traffic.
But most truck drivers have been on the road for 30 years. They know it.
They know
They
it.
know it's stone cold. because most of them drove for 20 years before they had GPS.
Yep.
So their memories are pretty good. So anyway, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. I
Thanks,
realize you
Troy.
have a hard job to try to prioritize.
It's a
but
big decision.
That's a priority for me.
Yeah,
So
for
wanted to let you
sure.
know.
Thank you very much.
I'm Russell Scott. I think I emailed back and forth with Mayor Holmgren here for a little bit on 1,000 North, and I go along with Brother Forrest there. Is that road is horrible. It does need to get fixed. And talking about incidences, it happened to me today. I was coming home, getting ready to come here. There's a guy, yellow shirt, riding a bike at the side of the road. I go to the side to go around him, and coming over that hill is a semi. So it was that close. So it's gonna happen. Unfortunately, we need to stop it before it does. Along with what he said about the number of homes being built up in there, one of our concerns is our area, which is the Country View Estates, and then just off to the side of that, Lookout Point subdivision. There's probably about 60 homes up in there with families, and we only have one entrance and one exit into that area. And the last time that was cut up and stopped people from going up and going out was when the natural gas line was severed right there at the base of it, right by Bob Dutry Sports Shop. So it's definitely a safety issue on that part too. And again, going back to the email that we went back and forth on, Mayor Holmgren did mention that there was a secondary exit plan for that. But when we built up in 2007, up in Country View Estates, we were also told that there was a secondary going to be built in there, and it never happened.
Never happened.
So please do something for that road and do something for us up there. We are part of Tremont, even though we're on that side of the freeway.
We know that. Thank you.
I'm Bruce Hancock, and I live up on the hill too. Been up there for almost 22 years. We do need to really, really prioritize that road. It's bad, and the safety, as those two gentlemen mentioned. But the water drainage, if we don't fix that, just repaving and chewing up that road, you're going to be back in the same situation in 5 to 6 years or shorter. Just because the last rainstorm we had, it washed a lot of rock across that road and just made it miserable for people, traffic, and everything there. If you go west, right there at 2300, Sean mentioned it, neck down there, but not only the neck, but because of all the potholes on the north side of that road, everybody skirts around to the south side, and you got it's really bad there. And so I would encourage you to fix that. The truck side, I own a trucking company, and all the truck drivers know all the shortcuts because we've been doing it for so many years, and I agree, but I really try very, very hard to keep my semis off there, and I chew my guys because I know what it does to the roads, But on the same breath, you also need to realize that my trucking company, I spend $75,000 a year registering and paying impact fees and everything for my fleet of 16 trucks. So when I hear people complain about the big trucks, realize that we pay more than our fair share into taxes, into roads, into stuff like that. And so it's not cheap for us to operate these things. That being said, we also try to be very respectful, and I built a new facility, and we did our due diligence to make sure that we weren't making any more of an impact, that the road and where we wanted to build was the right move to make. And anyways, more on that, but I feel like the city needs to reach in their pockets however they need to and get this road done. When I built my facility, I was told I didn't need a fire suppression system, and I get 3/4 of the way into the project, and all of a sudden I'm forced into a fire suppression system in my building. And we'd already paid $100,000 to bring an 8-inch line with fire hydrants along the front of our property. And I was still told I have to do this. Didn't matter the impact to me as a business owner or what it would do for me. You know, I had to pull it out of my budget to make them happy. Took all the pavement that I wanted to put down, which would have benefited me and my drivers a lot more. So anyways, that's a beef that I got, but you realize that, you know, the impact is, you know, the safety that's up there. I walk that road during the spring and summer, come down the hill onto the sidewalk that's nice and wide there, and walk clear under the freeway and, you know, over to Canal Bank Road and back. And, you know, there's a lot of people that use it for exercise and so on and so forth, and we need to do that. So anyways, that's a high priority road for me. You know, like I say, nothing's been done in 21 years up there other than rearranging the gravel and putting some more potholes down, and, you know, it just needs to be done, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, everybody, for your comments, and I've taken notes, and we'll try to make sure we follow up and with your questions, and certainly about the road. That's a process we're needing to prioritize. I don't think you're going to see this fall any, you know, clearly the construction won't happen this fall, but we'll keep you in the loop on everything on that.
Mayor, when do you anticipate a decision being made as far as that?
Well, yeah, I don't know if you were here when Sean was talking about the, you know, we need to get the bids out, and of course, we'll have to sort of prioritize. We're kind of waiting on this T2 report, but if it doesn't quite come in, T-square report, if it doesn't come in, you know, in time, we'll have to make a decision based on the last T-squared report, but you know, I don't know that I can't promise. This is a council sort of decision.
Come up with a priority fairly soon.
I think we can. I think we can come up with a priority fairly soon, and I'm sure that 1000 North will be high on that priority list. I'm certain that it will be, so, yeah.
I was going to say, I think one of the next pieces of information that I think you'll receive that will be helpful in the decision-making process is this engineering analysis from Chris to determine, you know, can you essentially pulverize, grade, and repave, you know, because, and what that cost looks like. You know, at least I'm interested to see what that alternative is, because we do know that the surface life of the asphalt has been surpassed, and we need to do something, and that's the most efficient way to sort of be able to fix the issue, address the issue, and also allow us to continue to use that asphalt as we expand it to the full right-of-way width.
Very good. All right.
So I think within a month or so, we could have a priority, couldn't we, of what we're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, we just need to, if you can even tell us which projects, and I guess I know 1000 North is under consideration. I think Rocket Road is also under consideration because of, and then the other one that I think really comes into play is just our contractual obligation for that 2025. And so maybe we could look at those three projects and try to get an updated engineer's estimate and see what Chris is able to do with that.
Yeah.
So if we were to look,
Public comment.
come on up.
I talked 2 weeks ago, and so you already heard me. But since we're talking about the pulverize and stuff, I know that's the cheapest way. And we're kind of like, we'll take anything we can get. But really, I think, and this is just my opinion, but I think if we went ahead and did at least the full thing to Witcher Road,
2660.
I think if you did that,
we could live with a lot of it, a lot of the rest of it, but that is so terrible, and that is the most dangerous. And that road across that little ditch is so bad. If we could at least get the full thing to their road, it would help so much. And then maybe we can, patch and do some other things farther out. But if we could get that, I think that'd be the best. That's just my opinion, but I think that'd be really, really good if we
What you're
could do
talking
that.
about is 2,300 to 2,650.
26.
Is that right?
That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
And if we could do that much, then everyone would have smiles on their faces.
I think so.
It's realistic.
For years out, I think we could live with a lot of things, but that is so terrible that maybe we can meet in the middle on all this.
Yeah.
We love you.
Well, it's clearly going to have to be something that's done in.
Yeah, and I think we all understand that. We look at that 7 million or something, and we understand that that's kind of impossible, but if we can get some really solid stuff in that first part, that's where we are so worried and concerned. Thank you.
Did you have any comment?
Yeah, I totally agree with Diane. I think that's the reasonable thing to do based on the limited budget that we have. Even if you not chip sealed, but did the road after that point, just to get things cleaned up until we finally get some money built up to finish it out correctly down the road. But there's some other dangerous roads too, so you got to figure out how to spread it out to help everybody.
I think we
Yeah.
understand that.
I think they do too.
I don't know if I can stand up for another comment on that.
Sure.
My point on this is, we have been talking about this road ever since Mayor Weiss. So, it's been a continual process.
And it's sort of one of those,
See if I could get the reports on the T-squared as to how that's been evaluated over the past couple of years. I want to see what they've said about that road.
yeah, that's fair enough. We'll make sure that, but you need to kind of remind us don't, got a short-term memory. I was a county extension agent once. Okay, very good. Anybody else?
Maylee, did you have
I was
something?
just gonna say, it's a 40-mile-an-hour road, and that's where she's talking about getting it.
Yeah.
nose up, and it's so scary. I drive a school bus. We drive a school bus up that road, and it's a scary road where it narrows, and you're going 40 miles an hour, and the sun's in your eyes, and.
Right.
We can reduce the speed up there
I agree
too,
with
though.
Diana.
And then on
Okay.
2,300, they poke their noses way out so they can see up the road.
Those bushes.
And you're lucky you don't hit anyone.
And then you got that person in that turn lane going to McDonald's thinking that person's gonna
Yeah.
hit them on.
Yeah,
So.
very good, very good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight and spending some time with us and sharing your concerns, because that's where things get done, is when we have folks like you to come and give us some directions. So we sure appreciate it a lot.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Could I just ask, someone talked about clear vision. Where's the bushes? What?
They're at the intersection of 2,300. We cut them back, they grow.
South side of the road.
Yeah.
They're actually on,
Somebody's
I think, Mr. Stein's property.
Yeah, Sam Stein's
Paul
place.
Stein,
Paul
Sam.
Paul Stein.
And we
And,
we had to kind of beg to cut them back 2 years ago.
we do, we'll send them a letter saying if you don't cut them back, we will.
Oh, okay.
Go in there and cut them back, then they grow back. They need to
Yeah.
be.
Pulled out.
But
I'll
they're on
the
private
chemical
property.
fuel spray it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's 2,300 and 1,000 more.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. All right, new council business, discussion and consideration of approving the August financial statements.
I'll make a
Council?
motion, we approve the August financial statement.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, moved by Wes and seconded by Connie. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and consideration of approving the August warrant register.
That's why I'll go check and make sure the second.
Council?
I'll make a motion that we approve this evening the August warrant register.
Second?
I'll second it.
Been moved by Connie, Wes, seconded by Wes and Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and consideration of adopting resolution number 22-52, approving a bid for the street sweeper. Paul, should we? Paul, do you want to come up and tell us all about the street sweeper?
I think I mentioned to you last council meeting about it being down and always getting bids. So the bids came back, and just like we figured, you could see what the bids were. Let me pull up my document here. All right here, well, here, we got 3 bids. The Johnson sweeper, or the Butcher Johnson now, is the same sweeper we've had the last 2 sweepers we've had. The bid came in at $314,170. The Elgin, which is a Whirlwind, you probably used to see those, they used to have the Roadrunner on them. That one there came in at $337.90. And then the Timco, which is, it's really not a true vacuum. It uses something called regenerative air, where they use a fan and it blows down and then pulls it back up. The bid on that came in at $350,435. And we feel we've had good luck with our Johnson sweeper, and that's one, talking with Rusty, I let them decide because they're the ones who run it and operate it and have gone and seen all the demonstrations on those, that the Johnson would be the best fit for us. They do have a different chassis they're on now. Now they're on a Freightliner, which is good. They give you a choice of a Freightliner or I can't remember the other name, but we want the Navistar Freightliner because we do have a Freightliner dealer and repair shop in town now. So that's why the Freightliner would fit us best. If you've seen 2008, when we bought the last one, $160,000. They've doubled in prices, and we knew that was going to be a fact. Our goal back then, as I mentioned, was to trade it in after 10 years. We kind of pushed and pushed, and we lost the push. It blew up on us, I guess you could say, during the big rain event. We were trying to clean drains and sweep gutters, and that's when it came apart on us. But it had lived a life. I mean, you look at these things, they don't have a lot of miles on them, because you look, they're going less than 5 miles an hour down the street. And when you've got 45 miles of street, you really don't get a lot of mileage on them. It's just time and wear and tear that you get, and that's where the years come in. So anyway, our suggestion is to go with the Johnson sweeper at $314. We budgeted, I think, $225, and believe me, we came in as surprised as everybody else on what things have gone up. So
How's that, the 225, how are we set for in the budget?
well, we'll have to open the budget if the city council approves this in the future to move money from our capital fund into that, to replace that cost, to subsidize that.
We got the 93,000 in that fund to fund this
capital
new sweeper.
fund?
We do, but it drains it. And it was my recollection. I mean, it essentially, I can't remember if I looked at this, I think a week ago. So, I mean, one thing to let you know is it could come in next fiscal year. At some point, we're going to need to appropriate the funds, whether it's this fiscal year or the next fiscal year, because the timeline was June or July. And we do have the funds, but that, because it's coming out of the capital equipment, but it essentially eliminates, those funds. I think there's another 120,000 is what I projected coming in from the end of the fiscal year, 2022. Yeah, fiscal year.
I think most of them companies, they used to, like on fire trucks, give us what you got now, but after June 1st, or July 1st, when the budget starts, the other money will be there about the same time that is. We'd have to just put the other 100 grand, not quite 100 grand, in next year's budget for it.
Well,
or
he
pull it
just
out of
says
there.
Yeah, we've got the funds.
Either way.
It eliminates it. So,
Wipes it out.
and we talked about this through the, last year's budget, that we rely on sales tax to replenish those funds. And so I'm not really sure what the future holds. I mean, sales taxes have been coming in fairly strong, and we hope that continues. But this is one of those funds that benefit from, a big year. So we do have some police vehicles that are scheduled to be replaced. And, we talked a little bit about police vehicles and maybe seeing what we can do to stretch them out. We used to buy cruisers, and at 80,000 miles, they had really deteriorated to a point that, that we were having difficulties keeping them in service, and they just looked like they've gone 160,000 miles. We switched to the trucks, and, I think we're starting to see the first set of trucks kind of get that to that 100,000 mark. So we're really kind of monitoring to see how well those perform as police vehicles. So I need to catch up with Dustin and get his evaluation of how some of those vehicles are. But based on a mileage schedule, we had contemplated replacing some vehicles. We have one this year currently, and I think we were hoping to do a few more next year. But that's probably what's in jeopardy potentially is the police and how we're able to, to replace or buy new vehicles for new officers.
And in the past, they used to, don't know how they're gonna do it, I didn't get that far. Payment wasn't due until delivery. Unlike the fire engines you pay some up front to start being built. But usually the equipment for public works is you paid on delivery. The last one, actually, we did on a purchase, through Zions Bank. We did, we used to do a lot of those less than 10-year type loan payments through Zions. We did on water projects and some equipment stuff. So,
Are we going to try to rent something this fall?
and I've got one scheduled for rent for 2 months. We actually pick it up next Tuesday to get us through leaves and also the growing up the streets and stuff before winter. So we'll have it for 2 months. And then we'll hopefully see where we're at in receiving, if you go purchase this, see where we're at on receiving this and decide if we need to rent one for a month in the spring.
Do we have a depreciating schedule on all of our capital assets, all the vehicles mainly is what I'm talking about?
Well, we had a schedule here, we were gonna trade it in at 10 years.
Yeah.
But it got pushed back because other things came up and other money was being spent.
And so
So we pushed it back, hoping that we would still have some value in our equipment. And, you play the game, and this is one that didn't pan out. We pushed it too far.
We've put it off and put it off.
We did. It was part of my fault.
In the face. So the reason I'm asking about a spreadsheet is, how many other assets out there need to be replaced? And we just got through talking about a couple. The trucks are getting to a point. The cars. What are we looking at here? How many vehicles?
And we've got Sean's got a great spreadsheet that we track everything on.
Do we?
How many miles a year we put on it and where we anticipate replacing in what year. And like I said, this one here, we pushed it, and because we knew the capital outlay was gonna be so large. And that's before we knew it at 300,000.
I'd be for voting right now to get this going if I knew the 120,000 would cover what we need help with on the other vehicles that need to be replaced in the upcoming year.
Well, Lindsay, maybe you could go to the budget, we'll pull it up and see what's there. So, do you know where to navigate to? Okay. Fiscal 23, and then it's capital, it's going to be under capital, TC capital. There's a capital projects folder.
TC Capital March 3rd.
Mm-hmm. And then scroll down to Fund 41. Up, I mean. Okay. So this is where I put in the new, street sweeper cost of $320. You're gonna have to kind of shrink it down. But you can see everything that's been appropriated this year in this column. And I don't know, maybe you have to make it bigger to. Let's just go through that list real quick. Can you start? So we had the street sweeper, we had a mowing tractor, and that's going to be split in part with the water fund. We have the police vehicle that we talked about, and the printers for the police department, and the outfitting of that police vehicle equals that $22,000. The fire truck payment, debt service of $91,000. The copier for the city offices, the copier for the recreation. We got a drone that's used between the police and fire. It has thermal imagery. I'm probably not saying that right, but it can essentially help with both fires and police, missing persons and understanding hotspots. And then the library copier. So if you scroll over to see if you can get to where it talks about others. Can you scroll? Well, you might have to zoom out.
I think there's only one line, and it's the next four
Police vehicles, and what do we estimate there, 200,000?
200,000.
Yeah.
50,000 each.
So if you look at, go to the bottom line, and you can see, so this is for fiscal year, this current fiscal year. We had, scroll down. So Curtis, each fiscal year, identifies what the appropriation, the available fund balance, and it's at $534,000. The total appropriation would be the $531, so we have essentially $4,000 left. I think, as I mentioned, we think we're going to have 120,000 is it might be 160 based on that 500,000. Anyways, it's going to be somewhere I anticipate between 120 and 160 that would be available and transferred into this fund at the end of this audit process.
It works. If you slide back over, Lindsay, back over to the line C. I think it was C. Where'd it go? That right there. Go to the bottom of that blue C. 531,000 is what we need this year. If you take 531 minus the 230, what we're spending on the truck, on the new sweeper, okay, that leaves you our annual need at 301,000. So we're going to have to turn around and put money in the next year for a sweeper. That's going to be 20,000. We'll be $180,000 ahead in that fund based on those numbers you're giving me right there on that depreciation.
Well, these are replacement costs, just to be clear.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Because that 531 has got the 230 in it.
The 320.
Yeah, the 320. Well, yeah, it's even better than what I'm talking.
So all I did is just adding up the expenses, and we try to anticipate future years' expenses, and then we try to, identify what we have available for
So next year, we're
appropriation.
going to have to put 332,000 in that budget to replace the sweeper in 10 years again. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So you
I
got
do.
301 plus 32,000. There's room in the budget to do this thing now, the way
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
Well, we can, I believe we do have the fund balance to appropriate, but to your point, future years will need to continue to build this fund up,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
so.
That's
All
what
right.
I'm saying.
Councilman Vance, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'll make a motion here. Where'd it go?
2252.
See, I make a motion, we adopt resolution number 22-52 for the 320.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 22-52 for the amount of $320,000. I understand that right? And we have a motion by Lyle Vance and second by Connie. Roll call. Wes?
Yes, and thank you.
Connie Archibald, yes.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Brett, aye.
Rick, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody.
And I'll be diligent to remind it we'll trade it in at 10 years.
There you go.
And it does get its service done. We
We're gonna
do,
be here in 10 years.
I know, but someone will take my place that will be as diligent
Okay.
at getting it done.
There you go.
So, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Sean. Discussion and consideration of adopting resolution number 22-53, approving the cooperative agreement for the consolidated dispatch services in Box Elder County. Sean, do you want to, let's see. Robert, do you want to take care of this one?
Yeah, come tell us about dispatch.
Dispatch, yeah, I'll take it. So, I don't know if you read the amendment already, or the agreement. So this is, we've been doing this for years, it's the same agreement, nothing has changed over this agreement. There were some things in the agreement that I didn't like at first. One of them was they can charge for service at any time, it kind of says that in the agreement. But I had a conversation with Nikki from Dispatch, and I believe you also met with Nikki as well, or talked to her, I don't know, via phone or email. And she said that there's no, it's free service, county's gonna cover the cost of dispatching, and if the future, if they need to charge for services in the future, because the other thing in the agreement, there's no cost that tells you how much you might have to pay. And I was also concerned about there's no fee on what you might have to pay. And she assured me that we're not gonna pay anything this year, and if there is gonna be a cost in the future, there'll be a committee that will come up with the cost, how much each city has to contribute towards the fee, and then you'll vote on another amendment. So, given all those things, I think that we're good to sign this agreement. So, and I'm also gonna sit on the advisory committee.
That'll be good. Very good.
Any
Counsel?
questions?
Is that all you got?
Yeah.
Counsel?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 22-53 regarding the consolidated dispatch services.
I'll
for-
second it.
Moved by Connie and seconded by Lyle to adopt resolution number 22-53. Roll call, let's see, Rick?
Rick, aye.
Brett, aye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
West Eye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chief. Let's see. Discussion and consideration of adopting resolution number 22-54, approving the amendments to the Tree Mountain City Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, including section 13, compensation planning, and sections 16, benefits. Sean?
Yeah, if you approve this resolution, it'll just increase some of the employee awards by $50. It's a way that we can build morale through either years of service or merit awards based upon them being recognized, an employee being recognized for some action they did or some project they completed. And frankly, it's not used all that often, that employee merit award. But as you know, we hand out years of service fairly regularly.
So if somebody's been with us for 15 years, we pay them $3,500? Is that the way I'm reading that?
Wow.
$350.
If you'd like to change it to 3,500, that would be
Oh,
great, but-
yeah, I was going, wow, I wished I worked there.
Took me a minute to figure that out, too.
Yeah. I was looking at the same thing.
I thought, I gotta ask that question, because that's the way it looks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the way it looks.
Yeah, the tracking on there.
So we're giving them 150, 250 Okay.
I make a motion that we adopt that resolution. Where'd it go again?
22-54.
22-54.
I'll second it.
Moved by Lyle and seconded by Rick and Wes.
There is.
Roll call. Let's see. Wes?
West Eye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Brett, aye.
Rick, aye.
Motion passes. All right, let's moving on here. Calendar items. Do we have any calendar items we need to review?
Yes, I need to get
League
on
of
there.
Cities and Towns.
So I had one discrepancy here. Connie signed up for Deweyville on October 13th, and Lyle Vance signed up for Deweyville on December 8th. I didn't catch that. Do you guys want to coordinate? And do
I'm not going to
one or
be
the
in
other?
town on the 13th.
You're not going to be in on town. Okay, well, I can go in December too. I was just trying to put my name down as
I'll
new
put you down
places
for
and stuff.
December.
Well, me too.
Okay, what day is that again? December?
December 8th, 7 p.m.
Okay,
Thank you. Sorry.
no, that's okay.
Are any of these on a Thursday?
The county is, mayor's going.
It's during the
it's at
daytime.
11:30 a.m.
Because I can go, I just can't
I'm
go on
leaving
Tuesdays
next
or Wednesdays.
Wednesday.
11:30?
I can't go on the 12th.
December 8th.
If you want me to go with you.
Just to be
Can't
clear, I
go
think
on
the
the
county's
19th.
on Wednesday, isn't it? Did you say
Oh,
Thursday?
is it Wednesday? Sorry.
Well, even if it's 11:30 on a Wednesday, I can go.
Okay, 11:30 Wednesday, the 19th. Mayor's signed up for it.
And Brett.
Yeah, you're driving, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Trust.
Who's buying lunch out of you two?
The driver.
We're going to go to the Mexican restaurant. That's my new favorite.
So 11:03 is filled.
Okay, so you're going to take me off the 13th because I have,
Off the 13th, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so let me take that off my calendar. Right here.
Better put that down. The 19th?
Honey, we're a team, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Well,
You better
Fielding,
believe
too.
it. Are we doing it 2 times together?
Yeah.
We are?
I might come go with you anyway. Even
Oh, Fielding. Hey, but I talked to a member of the Fielding City Council and she told me they're already paying.
They are.
Yeah.
So that'd be like a thank you, please continue.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with the
Because I already talked to her about it. I
Their
called her
county is,
directly and talked to her
they
about
could
it.
maybe they could bolster that up just a little bit, the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already talked to a member
I might
of
go
their
with
city
you to
council.
Elwood next week, just to
I'm
go.
looking forward to that. But we don't have anybody going to Bear River City.
But I can't go on the 12th.
Oh, let me see. Let me see what my life's
Jenny will be
like.
there, and they contribute as well. So
Yeah.
that's
I can't go at night.
I can't do that night. I've got school board meeting. That's why I didn't take that one.
We also have some other cities that haven't been picked yet. I think most notable, probably, obviously Garland, but we're waiting on the police thing with them. But Huntingville.
Do you want me to go?
Better not.
Please.
Better save you for last.
Please.
I don't think you want me to.
You're
I'd be more than happy.
no, you're the big guns we'll bring in when we really need it. We really need to blast them.
Yeah, I'll be out of town on the 12th.
He'll be the bazooka.
Whatever that thing is they're using in Ukraine, that's what you are.
Yeah.
On the 12th, 13th,
Let me make a note that I'm going to do that
19th.
with
Oh, that's during the day.
present.
Okay, let's pull this thing, let's see.
Well, then.
City manager reports. Do we have anything more we need to talk about?
No.
Okay, I'd like to hear that. DRC committee,
The meeting's canceled tomorrow. I would just say we're finishing up developments that have been approved, but still need to, put the development agreement together and finalize some of their construction plans. So there's still work going on, but not a lot of new applications, but just
things are
wrapping
slowing
up
down a
things.
little bit.
Sort of.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like it.
That might be a good thing, to slow down just a little, let us catch our breath. Department heads. I said that already, didn't I? Department head reports. Okay. council reports. Anything we want to share? Rick?
Doing fine.
Brett?
I just think I need to thank you for you.
Me?
Yeah, you've done a good job of communicating with the public, and I think that we've got a better communication going. I've seen your newsletters and all the work you're doing, and so thank you. I'm impressed, and I appreciate all the work you're doing as the mayor, so thank you.
Down to the puncture weeds.
Right down to the puncture rates. And the guy that I'm the guy I'm helping get his hours in.
I told you earlier, Lyle, these guys too, you know. I had to do that once and I didn't turn out all that bad, so.
There's hope, huh? All right.
Yeah.
All right. We have trick or treat coming up on Main Street. We're going to have the city is going to put together we're going to be there handing out candy. Yep. And if any of you would like to,
What day? The
Ooh, how about them two in the back in the blue?
28th,
We
for
get
sure.
Participation for the Halloween candy
Oh, I already got it.
from the police department and the fire
Four?
department?
Got it.
I don't know, what day, Sarah?
20.
Main Street?
On the 28th, we're going to hand out,
Say with the police department, it's sort of all hands on deck doing,
traffic.
But I don't think the chief would be doing traffic, and I would love to see the chief handing out treat. They could even do it together, the two chiefs.
How
There
far,
you go.
how far down Main Street we going?
I'm going with the firefighter, and he'll go with the cop.
I'll get you public works hats if you want.
So where do we go? Where do we meet if we want to do this?
Midland Square.
Okay.
yeah.
What you gonna dress up?
I'll come down.
Hired person.
Travel guru is what you are.
Can't lose that, isn't that a?
Do you need any help with anything set up for that, or how's? Pardon me?
It's Zach, but I can ask Zach if he needs help.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to thank Connie and Sarah for the successful year with the farmer's market.
No kidding.
You guys did a fantastic job.
Time.
And that was fun. It was,
Fun.
I think the statement I'll always remember is the people that came through and said they felt like they were in a Hallmark movie. So I think that's what we're shooting for.
Multiple people say that, especially at the pumpkin setup. It's like the staple comment now.
Well, good. All right, council, we have one more motion.
I make a motion we adjourn.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. We adjourn. I think I agree with that.
Hi.
Thanks, everybody.
You're not gonna be there for one.
What did you come up with? 10 million? 11 million in projects?
That's wrong
He's
here.
gonna be there Thursday?
This is all public information here.
Oh, yeah.